there's so many different aspects. You have to look at yourself when you're trying to get yourself into a better place. And I know it can be overwhelming, but it's just little bits, little steps. My granddad used to say it wasn't very spiritually uplifting to have money.
Right.
What we were brought up with, it's like, okay, so how do we live then, Granddad? But something clicked, and then different plants were just calling to me, and this was a whole new thing.
This is the age of the multi-dimensional self.
Hi there, it's Kelly here from Divine Alchemy Healing, and today I'm delighted to introduce Amy from Nature's Wish. And Amy resides in Hampshire in the UK, and she's here to tell us about what led her to pendulum work and how she dowses with flower essences. So I'm going to hand over to Amy, and I hope you're well, Amy. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, very good. Glad it's a bit cooler today.
Yes.
So how did you get into using pendulums first, or did you come to something else and then came to pendulums through that?
Actually, the day I found out about dowsing was the day I really found out about flower essences. So it was quite a huge day for me. My son, who's now 22, was about 18 months old, and he was just a bit out of sorts with himself. And a friend suggested I try some flower essences, which were from the Batch range.
Yeah.
He didn't know he was taking anything. And then within 24, 48 hours, he bounced back to himself. He just was, I could just tell he was back into himself. And so I asked my friend what on earth it was that I'd just given him. And she said, you need to go and have a chat with a friend of mine who works with essences. So this lovely lady called Sonia, she chatted to me for hours. I'm sure I was there for the day. I mean, it's a long time ago now. And halfway through the day, she just looked at me and said, you need to learn about dowsing. And I had no idea what she was talking about. And she pulled out this pendulum and started showing me a yes and a no, and got me to do the yes and the no. And I remember that I couldn't get the no. So she put a battery in my hand. I don't know if anybody else has done this before, but she put a battery in my hand, and then along came the no. And then I can remember walking out of there going, flowers have energy, trees have energy, and I can find that with one of those things. It was mind-blowing. And having never come across it before, my life changed completely then. I could never go back. I just kept going forwards and learning more and more.
Wow. And so that's about 20 years you've been working then, is it? Or just
Yeah. So I started training as a practitioner for Batch to start with.
Right.
And I don't know if it's the same now, but what's interesting is when I did my practitioner level, you had to sign a code of conduct, and on it said that you can't dowse. I don't know if that's the same now.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago. And I was very lucky because I said to my trainer, because by then I was fully into dowsing and loving it and doing it all the time. And she said, just, don't worry about it. Just, you know what you're doing, just sign it and then just do things in your way. And I did. And I was really lucky that I had someone like that, rather than someone who said, well, and then if you're not going to sign it, you can't,
Yeah.
But I never really took to being a practitioner. It was interesting back then. And I think it was probably because I wasn't making my own essences.
Yeah.
So, I wasn't I love the Batch range, and I use them, but they're not me. They're not my energy. Or what I've been told I have to make, so that came along a bit later.
How long was it before you started making these then?
I started making essences around 2009.
Okay.
Again, that just fell into my lap because I wasn't going to do that either. A friend of mine said, I'm going off to a day course to learn how to make flower essences, and she knew I was a practitioner, so she said, do you want to come? And I went, and it was one of those days where you didn't do anything practical. I just sat behind a desk for the whole day, and that normally would send me running for the hills, but something clicked, and then the walking with the dog, every day, different plants were just calling to me. This is a whole new thing. Again, literally it felt like they're going, pick me today, me today, me today. And I almost obsessively made essences for a couple of months.
Right.
And I made a lot. I just got, that's my personality. When I find something I'm really interested in, I'm like straight into it. And of course I'm dowsing all the time with it. So, and then I had, I was only making these for fun, I thought, and for my friends and family. And then I had a download in the middle of the night, which I'd never had before. Again, a new experience. There was a visual of a pad and a pen, and it wouldn't go away. And I got up and just started writing, and I wrote the names of my essences, which are all those, I don't know, see the little bottles on the top there?
Yeah.
And so I wrote the name joy and tranquility and peace, and then I was given which of the flowers that were going to go in there. Now, bear in mind, I hadn't actually worked out what any of the flowers were going to do. I didn't know what they did, but then when I researched afterwards, it was either sitting in a bit of meditation or intuition, or researching what other people had found that this flower would help you with. They all came together to do what I was told it would do. So then I was like, okay, I think there's something in this that I'm meant to do. And then about 3 months later, the name Nature's Wish was sent to me, and that was it. So,
such a beautiful story of synchronicity and almost like your soul contract fulfilling itself, giving you those nudges to go along.
Yeah.
And then it just suddenly all clicking in.
Yeah. And having the dowsing meant that I was constantly confirming it, when I'm dowsing, do you really mean these ones to go into joy? Yes. So it kind of gives you that confidence, I think, that I was doing the right thing. Wasn't sort of left out there. I had this tool to tune in and make sure that what I was getting was right. So the two I've always worked the two together. I couldn't do one without the other.
Of course. Yeah. Do you have a set of different sprays then, and like that are your sort of base sprays, so to speak, and then do you also make personal ones for clients and things, or is that?
Yeah, no, I do. I get asked to do that. I'll get emails asked to, I just douse for people, and they'll buy them on the website, or some of them will just want me to make them up a blend. So I douse that and make up a blend. I love the way, and I know you'll find the same, and everyone listening, that when you say to people, I can douse for your son or your daughter or whoever, and I've never met them, it's that, what? But it really works, doesn't it? It's like, it's lovely to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so then I do have some sprays which I put the essences into those. So these are the essences, and so of course they don't taste of anything.
Of course. Yeah.
Because they go under your tongue. If anyone's not sure what I'm talking about, they're like rescue remedy, so that you put under your tongue. And then these are the sprays which, on a day like today, are just lovely. So, and they're blended with essential oils as well. And again, the essential oil blends, I doused that.
Yeah.
I had an inkling of what would go, and then I'd douse it, and I'd use it to help me with the exact amount, of the drops and things. So
yeah,
it was it's totally kind of been sent to me, and whenever there's a new essence coming in, I use the dowsing. So it's good.
So nice as well, because I use some aura support sprays from a lady called do you know of Amanda Ellis? I'll send you a link to her.
Yeah.
But she's really a tarot card reader, but she was trained in color therapy and aura soma sprays, but she decided,
I know aura soma. Yeah.
Yes, she was led to make her own sprays, and still does. And that I buy them because I know, like you, that beautiful sort of process that's gone on, that's quite personal. It's not like just being manufactured hundreds of these bottles or anything. Every spray is, made with care and love, so. Yeah.
And the essences, I grow all the plants that I can.
Wow.
To make my essences with, because you don't need people think it's not like essential oils where you need acres to create a small bottle. You only need enough to fill a little bowl,
Right.
or a little bowl if you're only making them for yourself,
Yeah.
to make the mother. And then, of course, it's dilution. It's like homeopathy.
Yeah.
So, and last year was pretty dire, but this year been amazing weather for essences.
Yes.
So making them, it's been really great. And the trees that I use, they're all local on my dog walks, and so it's that lovely energy. And I live near the South Downs, and there's an essence that I make called Serenity, and that's on the South Downs. And I go and dowse. Sometimes it's not always in the same place, so I dowse it to see where I'm walking to place my bowl of water.
Yeah.
I make another essence in Port Isaac.
Yes.
In Cornwall, that way.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful because it's picking up the energy of the sea, and it's to keep your own energy flowing, because we dam our energy with I can't and I won't, I'll never be able to, and all the things that we allow other people to program us in with. And of course the sea just keeps that lovely flow. So again, I dowse what day when we're down there, which day is the right day to do it, where's the right place this time to place the water bowl. And dowsing, it's part of it all the time.
Yeah.
So, and then I dowse to see if they're ready.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes it's really quick, and sometimes no, it's like a few hours, so yeah.
I feel like I'm going to be visiting your shop after this.
Oh.
And you also do, I remember because I saw one of your TikTok videos, like you do home healing and things like that as well. So does dowsing come into that, and tell us how that works?
Totally. I dowse. I'm sure the only people I know that do it they all are dowsers. So we're dowsing the earth energy lines and dowsing the water lines and looking for emotional area spots and vortexes and all sorts of things. And then it's quite interesting what comes up with artifacts and objects that are holding energy in the house, and all those sorts of things. So dowsing allows you to get right down into the nitty-gritty of it, and all the time. And I'm sure, because probably many of your people on this tube will be knowing about house energy, or with all dowsing, you're constantly getting messages, and you're dowsing it all the time. Just, is that right? Yeah, you just know. Mine, I don't ever ask the question, is that right? Mine, I'll just have it there, and as it's all coming in, it'll go yes, and I go okay, yeah, yes. So it's, and that's how I work with the houses. I just kind of quite intuitively tune into them. I do what we have to do, and then you just see what messages you get, what magic comes out from it. Where they're upset. I've done one recently that was like, my doorway is, I need more at the doorway. I need flowers and I need trees, and I need it to look like a doorway into the house, please. So it's like, okay. Really, and that comes there. I say there because that for me is how I feel it coming. Yeah. And so I'm dowsing. Okay, so I tell my client they want lovely flower boxes and things like that around the doorway, please.
That's so lovely, isn't it? And I think so with that, are people coming to you and saying, like, there's something going on in my house, or I just don't feel comfortable in my house, or why do they come to you in the first place to ask for that help?
Well, sometimes it's for both of those things. There's things that they're just not feeling comfortable about in the house. Sometimes there's been a lot of upset in the house and they feel they need that cleared. There's this term called divorce houses, where houses, because they hold the energy, and people move in and it's not being cleared, and then they move out and they break up, and it's like this constant cycle. And there's all this energy that just needs to be cleared down. And then so some people are quite intuitive about that, but often it's because I don't just look at the one area. So I do some health dowsing and then energetic dowsing for a person.
Okay.
So you're looking at all different aspects, because it's not just, it might be that there's something going on in the house, might be that there's something held in the energy of the building, or that there's mold that you haven't picked up, or things like that, alongside with what's going on with your health, or are you feeling very low all the time. and that ties in if you're feeling very low. Well, what attachments do you have?
Yeah.
So, and has that come into the house from the house? Is it, or has it come in, or so it's looking at it that's why I call it is holistic, isn't it, what we do, because it's the whole picture, not just one thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's really interesting because I live in a ground floor flat, but upstairs they've been renovating the top floor for I mean, it's not really long, but it's been 3 weeks of complete noise, drilling, and builders clomping about, and I feel like it's really been having an impact. I've been clearing the house.
Yeah.
But that's, it's a really interesting point in terms of, I mean, I've never actually heard anyone talk about a divorce house, but so on point, in terms of the energy that's gone on often for people through that period, which is traumatic. And if they've got children, it's traumatic for them as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd have a if it's the building that you're in, I'd have a chat with the building just to let it know this is going on, by the way, because our buildings don't like it when we take down a wall and we haven't told it, or you've got one house and you've divided it into two, and suddenly it's like, well, what's my identity? I was big cat, now what am I now? And if it's a pub and it's changed to a house, or vice versa, or it's just telling it. It's because I know it sounds bonkers, but we're all energy. Everything is energy.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't sound bonkers to me, and I'm sure most of our listeners, it won't sound bonkers to at all, because energy, as you say, everything is energy. And that's why we can do things like tune into crystals and stuff, isn't it, as well? But people forget about things like structures. I was listening to a very interesting podcast. It was about tulpas, which a tulpa is a thing that someone's created with their energy, not always consciously. And the example was the writers of back in the day, this was in the sort of 1950s, of the comic Superman.
Okay, yeah.
Energy had a sort of restriction on what it would let the writers create within the story, and it wasn't just one writer, it was several writers that experienced this energy. And so Superman had become a tulpa, basically, because so many people were putting energy into him because they loved Superman, that it had created its own energy field. And I thought that was, I was just like, I'd never thought of that. But it's really interesting.
It is interesting. I was talking to someone this morning who I'm taking part in a retreat with them. They've asked me to join them on it, and it's to doctors.
Right.
So it's about how far I can go with. I'm going to be talking about stress and essences, and probably not a lot of dowsing, because that might be a bit too much. She's kind of said maybe that's too much. But I said, when you're talking about energy, if they're not kind of receptive to that word, everything is in. We've got the radio waves that we can't see. We've got everything that we can't see, the internet that we can't see. We've got, people believe in God that you can't see. It's just because we can't see it, it doesn't mean it isn't there. And it's going to be interesting bringing it into. I'm so used to now doing talks to people like yourselves who are already kind of in my world, that I can say what it is I want to say. So it's going to be interesting to bring them into this as much as I can.
And I think what you just said is a very good explanation, though. Most people have either a belief in God or a higher source. I know atheism doesn't, but they know there is energy in some ways, don't they? Maybe they just haven't got the bigger picture yet.
Yes.
There can be energy in everything, basically.
Yeah, and there might be fear there. There's probably bound to be fear there, actually. If I start believing this. I had a really interesting experience with dowsing when I used to talk at Grey Shot Spa twice a month when it was open. And it was all about essences, and quite often people came in thinking I was talking about essential oils, because we're talking nearly 20 years ago. Essences, perhaps not everybody knew about them. And there's this chap that came, and it was rare I got men that came in as well. And my talks were always my slot was 8:30 in the evening, which is a really bad time to talk.
Right.
They're like this through the whole thing. And I was like, okay. And then eventually I did the talk, and at the end I always showed them dowsing, and I said, this is how I select essences for people, this is what I do. And he just yelled, he couldn't contain himself any longer, and he went, you're doing that. And I said, well, yeah, in a way I am, but I'm not consciously aware of it, but and he said, no, you're making it. I went, and he said, you show me, I want to do it. And I was like going to my team and everybody and everything. I was like, please let it work for him, please let it. And so I gave him my pendulum, and I got him into a calmer state, and just asked him to ask for a yes, and thank whatever, because span. And he just shrieked and went, I'm not doing that. And it was like, he just couldn't understand it at all. And I kept him going for a little while, and then it was the end of the talk anyway. But as he left, I still have this visual of him opening the door, and he stood there with the door and his handle in his hand, and just looked back at me and went, I have to rethink everything now.
Wow.
And just left. And I was like, yes. So, and he is I think about him, I'd love to know where he took himself off with it all, what rabbit holes he went down. But that was my one moment where I was like, yeah, this is good. So.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you do a talk like that, you don't know who's going to come, do you? I mean, I feel, because I have clients coming in all week, and often they're men, and I just I'm just getting my pendulums out and checking charts and things, and I'm not even, there's no part of me that's thinking they must think this is a bit weird, but they're already, they've come and they're going to pay for this session, knowing, often they've been referred by someone that's a friend who's seen me or something like that, so they're slightly more open to it anyway. It's not a surprise to them when I get a pendulum out. I mean, my room, you can't see it because of the green screen, but there's pictures of my guides, there's pendulums, there's all the aura sprays over there. They can see when they walk in. They're not walking into a conventional office. But I always ask the guides actually to just allow them to be open to the energy work.
Yes.
But go on.
So you assess, I think you get quite intuitive as to how far you can take it, because I talk at Goodwood on the longevity program there, and I get clients coming to see me when they're there for that week. Most of them don't know what, when I start dowsing, they've never seen it, and so you do kind of learn how to take it at their speed, don't you, without freaking them out, because you want them to open up to it really. And
absolutely.
And I haven't had anyone run away
screaming she's a witch.
Not yet anyway. It's time. So.
I mean, it's interesting with I feel like mainly, I mainly work with women, but it's just that's the way it is, but some of the men that have come in and seen the pendulum work, they're looking at it in awe, because they can see it's changing direction and then it's going there, and a couple of them have bought our books, and they've got into it, and they get into it in such an intense way because it has, as you say, it opens up a whole new world, doesn't it?
It's wonderful.
Spreading the word, that's what we're all about, basically.
Absolutely.
So you're going to show us how you do some work on the chakras, aren't you, with dowsing?
It's just a brief yes, I mean, I'm always clearing the chakras for people, and I do most of my work remotely. I don't have many clients here, it's all usually done. I tend to do I've got a big assessment list, and I do that, and I work on whether they've got energetic cords or psychic attacks and all those sorts of things, and clear those, and then I always do the chakras and spirits and things like that. So often I have my list. So if I was to douse my chakras now, let's see. So I'm going to I've got.
Okay, so you've got a list of the chakras.
Yes. So I'm going to douse to see if any of mine need work right now. So I'm going to. Is it the crown, third eye, throat, heart? So my solar plexus, sacral root. So solar plexus. Last time I did this in a demonstration, it took ages, so I won't do. If it starts going off for ages, I will stop it and I'll go back to it. So
if they were going to follow us with this, let's just use the solar plexus because it's such a good chakra to work on. I feel like, you know, so many people have a tight solar plexus, or, you know, it's a really important chakra, isn't it? It's the power center. So if we were going to follow along, let's sort of say, let's get everyone to get hold of your pendulum and have a drink of water. And then
I've done my grounding before I spoke to you. Always make sure your feet are on the floor and you're grounded yourself. I'm sure you all have your own ways to do that. I can always do that. I'm sure you all to do that, and just breathing in, and you're just asking your higher self to show you, because we're just trying to work with getting our chakras to be balanced, but in our own individual way, because there's so much talk that they have to spin this way and it has to be this speed. I just let them go whichever direction that person's. In fact, I don't even really check the direction. I ask for it to go, just be in as best health, energetic health as it can be. So one thing that's quite nice to do, just so that you have a reference point, is for those of you who've worked with percentages, you can just be, so my solar plexus, I'm going to ask for the use the term overall health, if you like, overall energetic health.
Grab my percentages chart. Hang on a sec.
Okay, yeah. Anyone with a chart?
Yeah.
And then if you don't have a chart like me, I just start with 100. Is it more than 100%? Which it's not going to be. More than 90. More than 80. So mine is more than 80. So then I go 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86. So it's 87. So it's not bad.
Okay.
At all. I'm quite happy with that, but obviously there's room for improvement.
Yeah.
So if you do yours.
So can you show me where? I'll see how open is my solar plexus at the moment.
Or how balanced?
Yeah, how balanced is my. So funny enough, it's so on here it's showing just. It's between 80 and 90, and I'll just check again, but you did say, is it 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89. Yeah, 89.
Okay, so that's pretty good as well.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of work on my solar plexus recently, funny enough.
Me too. I feel pretty in tune with myself at the moment, which is nice. It's not always like that, let me assure you. But today's a good day.
Yeah.
So then, so you've got your reference point.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of terms. There's there's called the unwinding. But I like to call it drawing out. I'm drawing out anything. I don't resonate with the term unwinding, but whatever term it is for you. So I'm now going to just ask that anything that's stopping my solar plexus from being in really good health and balance is now drawn out. And mine now will turn on my negative. I've done this before for people. This method of when my son was ill on a cruise liner, because he works on one.
Oh wow! And
they he had the flu, like a flu thing, but they banished him to the deck 2 in isolation, and he didn't see anyone for 3 days. I just pushed the meals in. And overnight he called me and said, I need you to do something. And I was dowsing and I was just drawing it out. I'd never done this before, for an illness on a distance. And I was dowsing for nearly 15 minutes, drawing it out. I was actually holding my hand by the end of it going, God, it's quite a long time.
Yeah.
So I don't know how long this will go on for.
Okay.
Is it much longer? No, it's not much longer. Mine isn't much longer.
It's just changing now. Let's say
Okay.
me, when it's done its work, it starts swinging backwards and forwards.
Yes, mine too. There we go. So there we go. And then what you can do is you can then, if you like working with crystals or essences, so if I say the names of the essences,
That'd be nice.
and then people can, if one resonates with you, so I'm going to look at them across the top here, just in case I miss one out. So it might be, so we're going to call one in. Okay, so just think of that. We're going to call one in. So we've got protect, clarity, peace, tranquility, rejuvenate, joy, hope, tenderness, wisdom, serenity, faith, Aphrodite, and release. Now, if one of those, hopefully that was slow enough for you all to douse and see which one.
Mine was tranquility.
Mine was also tranquility.
We're so aligned. Our chakra, our solar plexuses were almost like aligned as well in the percentage. So, yeah.
So just call in tranquility essence. And again, so I'm going to use a really technical term here. We're going to zap it in. Okay. So that's, like you see, I'm very technical.
Yeah.
And so just now that'll be into your positive. And I'm just going to call in tranquility. So you can do this as crystals with a word like joy or love or anything that you feel is needed. Shouldn't take too long, I don't think. Mine's done.
Yeah, same.
So now let's douse the overall health of your chakra. And mine is now up to 99.
Yeah, mine's just literally in front of 100. So I would say that's probably, I feel like we're just aligning there, aren't we?
Yeah. And of course, because of the colors of the chakras, you can bring in color also and sound resonance, anything at all. But
wow, that was really interesting. And so just to recap for people watching, so it would be good for them to either use a chart with the chakras on or write a list of the chakras, see which one feels like it needs the most help, and it might be more than one, obviously.
Yeah.
Then if you've got an energy percentage chart, check what percentage it's at in terms of its overall health.
Yeah. Or you can count it like I do. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And then your
spirit.
What was the word?
Wait. Well, I call it drawing it out.
Yeah, drawing it out.
Your unwinding, whatever. But I have a problem with that in that I don't know what it is I'm unwinding. I'm not unwinding, so I'm literally wanting to clear it. So I always use. It doesn't matter. It all means the same.
Yeah, and your intention is releasing any blocks.
Yes.
In your or whatever chakra, isn't it?
Yes, and you don't have to use an essence to balance it back out. You can literally just be sending light and love or whatever it is that you like and into your positive, and then it just fill it up with beautiful energy. And,
yes, I mean, any attention you place on your energy on any area of your body actually is going to be helpful, isn't it? and especially if you bring in some positive energies
Yes.
to that
area. It's also really important to look at perhaps if there's an area of your body, whether there's any self-beliefs or, you know, wordings that we're saying to ourselves. You know, I'm not good enough. I know it's a very obvious one. Or
so common.
I'm never going to be loved. Or what vows that you might I seem to work a lot at the moment with my clients about what vows they've brought in.
That
aren't theirs for this life. It was for a long time. Or whether it's through the DNA, you know, with epigenetics and everything from their parents or their grandparents or their great grandparents who sent this belief. Perhaps if we're got problems with money because
I was going to say that
we we never had enough.
Like money doesn't grow on trees.
Those beliefs
people that parents just used to say. And
the ones we're not conscious of.
That's right.
They're just in us. My granddad used to say it wasn't very spiritually uplifting to have money.
Right.
That's what we were brought up with. You know, it's like, okay, so how do we live then, Granddad? You know.
Yeah,
you know, it's better, it's more spiritual to be poor. It's crazy, and there's beliefs that I've got this extensive list that I douse for my clients, and some of them have popped up for me. I'm like, wow, I was not aware of that, but that makes so much sense. And then when you douse back to see where it's come from, it's not my parents or my grandparents, it's
way back.
You know, and then you look at where that is stored within the body, and again you can draw it out with your unwinding or your drawing out dowsing, and but then it's also being really consciously aware of that. And every time those thoughts, we've got to retrain our neural pathways also. So what thought can you put in instead? Someone pulled me up the other day, good friend of mine. I said, God, I'm just so rubbish at marketing, you know, because I wear all the hats in the company.
Of course, yeah.
And he went, what have you just said? And he said, what you mean is you're getting better at marketing all the time. And it really shocked me, because I'm like, God, yeah, I'm just like programming myself all the time. I'm really rubbish at marketing, so I always will be rubbish at marketing.
And it's so hard to see your own speech patterns sometimes, isn't it? I said yesterday to a client, and funny enough, she is a personal trainer, and I said, I was doing a new yoga set, and I said, oh, there's lots of handstands in it, and I've got rubbish shoulders. And she said, you have not got rubbish very strong shoulders, you know. And I was like, yeah, actually I have got very strong shoulders, you know, because I'm limiting myself straight away by thinking, oh, I can't do that workout because it's got a whole load of handstands in it, you know. But I can still have a go and build strength as I go.
Yes.
So it's interesting, isn't it?
It is.
Of how we speak to ourselves.
I do a lot of this work, and I think that's what you saw on TikTok when you approached me, was a lot of this work when I'm walking.
I love
dowsing.
That.
That's when it just flows. So that's when the blocks are made aware to me. Because when I'm you know, I'm always working in here on other people's stuff, I guess. So it's not my space for me, but nature is my space for me. And I walk my dog every morning early, and that's when it comes through that, and I go, oh yeah, I've been doing that. And then I douse, but I douse with my keys often.
I saw that. That was really, I love that video, because it shows that versatility, doesn't it?
You don't have to have these lovely pendulums, but although I'm addicted to the pendulums, as we talked about before we came on here. And I've only met one person that's only ever had one, and he's had one for years and years, and that's it. I'm like, what did you do? Did you resist the call of all of the pendulum? But I always have my keys with me, and it's difficult because you hear click clonk of the keys all the time. And I always wonder what people think of me as I'm walking around, you know, the circuit, and they're dowsing away, but I don't really care anymore. I don't mind. But it's a great place to shift the energy, because
Yeah.
it shifts, and I always ask for the energy to be recycled into lovely new energy, so that I'm not just getting rid of it and it's going somewhere else. I always visualize it being, recycled.
It looks really beautiful where you walk,
I've got some lovely spaces, and that's where the trees are.
Amy, she's on TikTok as well, for anyone who's on TikTok, and that's under Nature's Wish as well, isn't it? We'll put a link.
Thank you. And Instagram.
And Instagram.
And Facebook.
And Facebook. Yeah, and we'll put the website details as well, obviously. And you've also got some dowsing courses coming up, haven't you?
Yes.
In September.
So I teach, yes, I teach beginners dowsing, and then I do like a part 2 where it gives you more chance to develop your intuition a bit more. We look at working with the quantum fields there with dowsing and tapping into that and seeing lots of visualization, but with your dowsing, so you're reaffirming it all the time. And I do a bit of healing with dowsing, and I get them you to work on each other with that, which is lovely, because people think you have to be a healer to do healing, as in trained. I have done my spiritual healing and I'm Reiki master, but in my experience, anyone can heal. It's just, it's because it's all energy, and it doesn't mean that it's special just to you. It's just, so I get them to work with essences on their hands, and again, I use the technical term of zapping it in, and we douse the aura of people to see what the energy is, and then how we can boost that as a group with essence. So yeah, it's good. I love it.
For aura dowsing, because like I have in our charts, but we put a chart in of a sort of body and then the auric field out here, which I use, but you're obviously doing it in the person's energy field, are you?
Then I am, yes, because so sometimes you can use rods, but I'm not really a rod dowser. But I just get the group. There's one person who's volunteered to start walking towards, and then we're looking to see whether the aura is nicely balanced or whether you're really close one side or not, and it's quite amazing what happens. And then you give them an essence, so then someone will douse the essence.
Okay.
And the first time that I did this, I couldn't believe how it just reaffirmed what I do with essences. We gave them to the person in the middle, and then we redoused.
Yeah.
And it had already changed. It was instant. So whilst you might not be able to feel it, some people can feel it. They're very lucky and they feel it. But I say lucky because then it means they feel everything, and it's it can be quite challenging. But they could see it, and it was brilliant.
Oh, I love that.
Brilliant. Yeah. Which is why dowsing and essences just are hand in hand for me.
Work together, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, I've sometimes I'll use tarot cards. I'll draw some cards to a client, and then we'll spin in or out, depending on the cards, whatever energy is showing. Whether it's something that's blocked or whether it's something that's positive that we could amplify for them.
Yeah.
And there's so many ways, isn't there, to utilize dowsing. I think it's such a flexible way.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Really,
I mean, putting a glass of water on top of a word. I went to Veda Austin's talk last night.
Right.
I don't know if you all know of Veda Austin. If you don't, you need to look her up because she's amazing. And it's the third talk I've been to now over the last 3 years. She's just so knowledgeable about water because she's worked with it forever. So again, people that aren't necessarily in our world, when they see the photos, you can't. Also Dr. Emoto, you can't deny it. It's all there. And I've done some images myself on water using Veda Austin method, and again, she's made it so that she goes into schools to teach it. Anyone can do it. So but if I'm using a word, if there's a homeopathic remedy that I don't have, I write it and I put the glass of water on. And then you can leave it and just leave it, but I like to douse it in. So I douse it and kind of zap it in again, that technical term, and just use, just bring it in so I know it's in there, if you know what I mean.
That's such a good reminder to people as well. Excuse me, I'm going to have a sip of water.
But then that then ties into when we talked about the negative beliefs and the things we're saying, because, you know, if we're between sort of 70-80% water, and if we're saying those things to ourselves, water holds this energy.
Yeah,
it does, because of essences and all the other stuff. Then that's what we're holding. So it's there's so many different aspects you have to look at yourself when you're trying to get yourself into a better place. And I know it can be overwhelming, but it's just little bits, little steps.
Yeah, it is. It really is small steps, isn't it? You don't have to go from sort of self-doubt or saying something that you've noticed that you have some negative self-talk about something. You don't have to go to the other extreme, like, because that's not maybe believable for you, but you take steps towards it.
Yeah. And also that whole thing of doing that, I must never think negatively. I've always got to think positive. But we're the dark and the light, the yin and the yang. We're human beings, and people that are always really positive, but not genuinely positive, because you can sense that. It's like, just let yourself be. If you want to feel angry today, but don't hold it. Just let it out. With the health dowsing I do, you find that I dowse for absorption of vitamins and minerals and what that might show up in terms of health of your organs and all sorts of bits and pieces. But if energetically that's being stored there as well, that's, and because of the language and trauma's a big thing.
It really is, isn't it?
And everyone has it. I don't know anyone that doesn't, one way or another. So but
that's what we're here to learn about, isn't it, as well? And the recovery of trauma, I feel, is very much part of our growth and becoming wiser and learning boundaries and all the things. There's a lot of good that comes out of trauma in its own journey, if you are willing to sort of look at it. I think for some people it's very hard to, they just push it down and they don't want to ever think about it. And that's when it gets really sort of repressed into the energy system or the body.
But then they might not have people around them that either work in this way or even can suggest anything or support them in any way. So it becomes a coping mechanism, doesn't it?
And I do find in my own practice, sometimes people get here as a last resort.
Oh yeah, me too, regularly. I've tried everything else. It's like, okay.
And it's heartbreaking in some ways, isn't it? Because in some ways, just tuning into the body and doing something like some dowsing or some pendulum work to release things or increase energies it's so simple. But you have to know how to do that in the first place. It has to be in your consciousness, doesn't it? That it's going to be easy. And I think for a lot of people who've experienced, really severe traumas in their life, the thought of maybe going to something like counselling, which I know, is helpful for some people, but it doesn't actually change a lot of the energy within it, is it re-traumatizes them having to talk about it, whereas we can just pick up a pendulum, do some work with some charts or some flower essences or crystals or whatever, and free them from this trauma so quickly and without making them have to go back into it completely. So I've trained in so many different therapy over a long time. Like, I wasn't a therapy junkie or anything, but I find that actually using pendulums is one of the most safe and effective ways to work, especially when you've got guides overseeing it and things like that, because we're not re-traumatizing you. We just,
you don't have to go over it. To speak it. We
don't need to do that anymore. I think there was a time when that was something that maybe because of the energy that we were in at the time was valid, but I feel like now
we've moved on a bit.
We don't need
but it still is very helpful for some.
yeah, I think certain people, and sometimes it's a stepping stone, isn't it?
Yeah.
To something else. So
Yeah.
I'm not dissing it, but personally, I wouldn't do it. But you know, I feel like it's still in that, you know, it's the thing that's promoted by the NHS, isn't it?
Yes.
Very much so.
Yeah.
We're not quite at the point yet where they're going to start promoting
No.
dowsing work and flower essences.
Waiting a while for that,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. But you know, often people will come to you, as we said, you know, they'll have done some counselling and that might have helped them for a little bit, but then they needed to do something else, and then eventually they walk through our doors, you know, and it feels very much like they come when they're ready, don't they?
Yes.
At the end.
Yeah, they do. And they're open to receiving it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about before we sort of start to close the interview?
I don't think so. I think we've done quite
a lot.
We've covered quite a lot of ground. Yes.
Yeah. So we'll just repeat then that your sprays can be bought on your website, can't they? Which
and the
is www.natureswish.co.uk. We'll put that on the screen and in the description below. And also, you know, do you take international private clients as well? Because we've got a lot of Americans and Canadians all over the world that come and watch us.
So Zoom is wonderful for that, which is you know, very grateful for. Used to be terrified of it, and now it's like I use it all the time. It's very useful.
Yeah.
No,
if anyone's got any questions that they'd just like to drop in the comments, is that all right with you? Like, on the comments, we'll probably put this video up in probably either be Monday or Tuesday, because Frog will go through and edit it and put a nice picture and everything else.
So, my website, I haven't I'm hoping I'll make sure my guy puts up the information, because I've been doing the healing side and the health side, because that's not really been on my website, because I haven't needed to put it up there. I've just been quite busy with it, and I need to reboost it, you know. So there's not a lot of info, but it will be within a week. He's got the info to put up there. So,
and maybe we could put an email if anyone wants to get in contact with you, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, you've got my email. So
your email. And then you can go from there. So brilliant. I've really loved talking to you, Amy. And I feel like we're so aligned in many ways. I'm so glad. Good for TikTok. Rolling away.
And the fact that we don't actually live too far away from each other. We didn't know that. That's quite nice. So
meet up, aren't we?
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll say goodbye to the viewers for now. So thank you, everybody, for watching. If you've got any questions for Amy, drop them in the comments or write her an email. And give us a subscribe and a like if you can, or anything at all in the comments. It really helps boost the YouTube video and get it out there to hopefully more pendulum users. So thank you very much. Thank you, Amy. And we will see you again soon.
Thank you so much. That was so lovely. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
It is done, it is done, it is done. By moon, by flame, by soul revealing it. It is done, it is done, it is done. Through divine alchemy healing. Circle drawn with breath and light. Pendulum swings through day and night. Golden thread, unseen hand, moves through time at truth's command. Symbols rise, their veil is peeling. This is divine alchemy healing. It is done, it is done, it is done. By moon, by flame, by soul revealing it. It is done, it is done, it is done. Through divine alchemy healing. Shadow clears, the charge released. Storm stillness, womb to peace. Ancient codes through charts unseal. What's named in truth begins to heal. Spirit speaks, the field is kneeling, touched by divine alchemy healing. I ask, I receive, I release, I believe. 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 It is done, it is done, it is done. The waters hush, the sky is still. It is done, it is done, it is done. By soul's intent and secret will. It is done, it is done, it is done. By love, by will, by soul revealing. It is done, it is done, it is done. It says divine alchemy. I ask, I receive, I release, I believe. I ask, I receive, I release.